All right. Welcome to Nostalgicast, your weekly roundup of the best and most up-to-date nostalgic news where we discuss the stories and give our thoughts. I'm your host with the spirit of the radio, Andrew Price. Subdivisions in the high school halls, subdivisions in the shopping malls, conform or be cast out. Tyler Palo, you have entered the twilight zone. Beyond this world, strange things are known. Use the key, unlock the door. See what your fate might have in store. Kelby Joseph, fly by night away from here. Wow, change my life again. Fly by night, goodbye, my dear. The ship is a-coming and I just can't pretend. Julia. And Dad Beats, a.k.a. Canna Dad Beats, a.k.a. Kirkman-Chan.
Dad Beats!
This was all just an excuse so you could sing.
I feel like slowly every episode is also becoming an excuse for him.
Just a reason to belt out a tune.
Well, two things can be true. I love to sing.
I love to hear you sing.
And of course, I'm going to make every opportunity to like play songs and sing things. I even specifically asked when I'm talking with some of our advertisers about doing ad reads, because you know they have all these rules of like if you don't do it right, you don't get paid or whatever. You have to say the name 4 times and all. And I was specifically like, if we do ad reads and if I sing something, is that going to be a problem? But this actually wasn't an example of that. This is an example of something that I'll get to in a second. But I kind of shot my shot already with the Rush episode. There was just no more good ones. So this time I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to sing lyrics.
They're all good ones.
Good ones in terms of like, they fit as like a description of a person. So instead I just sang songs. And I literally just added this one for Julia right now. All this to say, first thing to talk about, usually we don't put a celebrity death up front, but I'm going to quickly jump into it. Rush drummer Neil Peart, dead at 67. Passed away from complications due to brain cancer. He retired from Rush in 2015, citing mounting health issues, ending his 40-year performance career. And on January 7th, he passed away in Santa Monica, California. And I just want to quickly read something I wrote whenever I found out he died. So this is just something I posted. 2112 changed me when I first heard it as a kid. I was so fascinated with the idea of an album that told a story from beginning to end, and each song not only delivered a part of the story through the lyrics, but also told parts of the story from different characters and different perspectives. The music reflected the moods of the themes and desires of the characters, and certain musical motifs represented different ideas. This eventually opened me up to a larger framework of storytelling through motifs that exist in music all around us, dating back to classical and Baroque music. And it's the reason why I have to listen to an album from beginning to end and can't hear it out of order or just cherry pick songs. There's a meaning and a significance to that track order. Rush's albums were my Rosetta Stone for that concept, and I think really inspired and informed how my creative mind works overall. In high school, I wrote and directed a rock musical called The Katana of Rock that was about a young farmer who heeds the call of the hero's journey and goes on a quest to defeat a darkness spreading across his world and save a princess. The story was told through 10 original songs that I wrote and recorded on a 4-track recorder. In addition to the obvious inspirations of stuff like Star Wars and Legend of Zelda, the musical was pretty much just me trying to make my own 2112. That album really inspired me. Neil Peart was not only one of the greatest drummers who ever lived, but all of that power that came out of that album, as well as any of Rush's other progressive masterpieces, came from his mind as the sole lyricist and songwriter for the band. Dude was brilliant. R.I.P.
Katana of Rock is the most Andrew thing I've ever heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That could not be more on brand if you tried.
That phrase is just marbled throughout my life still, because a bunch of passwords that I have are that, and a bunch of
Ooh.
yeah.
Whoa.
Hey,
nothing,
now.
nothing
Too
important.
much.
You want to?
Okay.
Yeah. My bank password is no. Email addresses that I still use and stuff like that. But yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, he's classic rock god.
So was he still kind of bumping around, making music?
I mean, Rush, like it said, like Rush was touring full time, like up to this day, up until 2015. They still tour, but they have a live drummer now. Up until 2015, since they sort of formed back in the early 70s, they've been touring nonstop ever since, up until 2015 when he retired. They're one of those touring bands. I think the last album they put out was in like the early or mid 2000s, but they just tour and perform all the time. And they'll probably just keep doing that until, I feel like once Geddy Lee dies, it's like, this isn't Rush.
Yeah.
So before we get into the news stories, just wanted to quickly touch on this. You know, this is something that's been happening for a long time. Obviously, we're all aware of it, but there's always that moment whenever it really kind of happens for real. Basically, the last death rattle of physical media, movies mostly. I guess this also extends to music, but that's not really part of it. So the story is basically, in the last decade, the U.S. market for physical discs has gone from a more than $10 billion business to a roughly a third of that in terms of consumer spending, according to data from the Digital Entertainment Group. Studios aren't ready to give up just yet. Two major players, Universal Pictures and Warner Brothers, have proposed an unusual plan to stay in the business of selling shiny physical discs. The studios on Wednesday announced a plan to team up on a joint venture that, if approved by regulators, would handle North American distribution for DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4K UHD discs for new releases, library titles, and television shows. The idea is to combine resources to continue selling discs while saving money. The joint venture is expected to operate for up to 10 years, according to a news release. This pretty much puts a timestamp on DVDs, Blu-rays, and any kind of physical media for movies in general. It's like 10 years from now, this is going to end. And then by that time, physical media is probably just going to be a thing of the past, like fully. It kind of already is, but like to the point where it's like my son's children just won't even know what it means to like have a thing on a disc and put it into a machine to watch a movie.
Yeah, I wonder if that all of a sudden though comes back around where like, vinyl's a big deal. And now, cassette tapes are now considered cool. And yeah, that's very niche, and that's all secondhand stuff. But at some point, I wonder if they're like, "Oh, I found this Blu-ray in this cool vintage album store that also sells movies," and it becomes a thing now to be praised.
I do like in the future when like some young kid finds a 4K DVD and it's like, this is how it was supposed to be seen.
Yeah.
They meant it like this, guys. You guys are all watching it wrong. It's terrible. Stop making plastic bullshit that we don't need. Just cut it all out, go digital, have everything online, eventually get rid of everything physical. We'll upload our bodies into a cloud. It'll be perfect.
Wow. You just solved everything in the world right there.
My knee-jerk reaction was to disagree with you, Kirk, and then I realized as you were talking that you could be right, because the thing about vinyl, and actually vinyl isn't even niche. Vinyl, what was the story? I wish I had
they make new vinyl now.
Well, I wish I had the pre-thought to look this up, but there was a story recently that in 2019, I think it was vinyl outsold CDs for the first year ever, or for the first year since the last time it did.
Yeah.
And the thing about vinyl, the thing about records, and the reason why those have come back and become popular is, to a certain degree, it's companies sort of capitalizing on and exploiting this sort of fad. But the reason why people like vinyl and like to collect records is because the sound quality is objectively better than a CD or an MP3 or the normal musical distribution sources for music.
Yeah,
it's better. And then you have high quality digital formats like aux vorbis or lossless quality, where that's the best possible quality it can be, is this archival lossless digital file.
Yeah,
but the normal distribution of music, which is listening to them through streaming services, which are in a format similar to MP3, unless you're using Tidal, and their whole thing is they have lossless streaming or whatever. But vinyl records, the quality is just way better than that. When you listen to music on Spotify, you're losing a lot of data in that listening experience. It's better than CDs. Vinyl just has a much more full, it's described as a warmer sound.
Yeah, I can see that.
When you listen to vinyl records with headphones, you hear things that you just never heard before. You'll be like, oh, you remember how last episode you were like, I never heard those congas. Yeah. You'll hear stuff like that where you're just like, holy shit, I never knew this song had this little second guitar part in the left side of the stereo spectrum or whatever. That was the beginning of why vinyl started to come back and become popular. And people debate that, and they say oh, it's just hipsters being ironic or whatever. But no, the reason why people like vinyl is because it's better quality.
Yeah.
And there is some degree of hipsterism in there, but there's a real origin to why people brought that back. Now, the same thing kind of goes for streaming movies. It's at the sample rates and the qualities of it are lower than if you watched it on Blu-ray. One of the biggest tragedies to me is that the Criterion Collection sort of like in the last couple of years have sort of like raised their hands and said we give up, and they still produce Blu-rays, but now they have the Criterion channel where you can stream their movies. The point of the Criterion Collection was always to archive important films in the best possible quality and presentation possible. And, you know, the streaming element of it kind of like undoes that because, you know, it's just not as good a quality. So you could be right that like some X amount of years from now when everything is streaming and, you know, my grandson doesn't even know what it means to have a movie on a disc and put it into a player, that generation could discover Blu-ray or whatever, or a more archival format and kind of go back to it and be like, oh, like I want to like own these and like put them into a player and watch them in the best quality or whatever. Especially when you factor in the discussion from last episode about like destroying the idea of ownership and that there might be a backlash to that in a couple years where the next generation of people don't want to like they have a backlash to the idea of like not owning anything physically, and they sort of like revert to an older time when they could own things and hold them.
Bring back that Betamax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Betamax was better than VHS.
Yeah.
But in a consumer war, it's not about what's better. It's about what's more convenient.
Yeah.
Laserdisc.
Laserdisc was also much better than VHS, but it was more expensive, more cumbersome.
Didn't VHS, I hope I'm not making up the story. It was between VHS and Betamax. Betamax was better, but porn went to VHS.
Porn and Disney.
Porn and Disney. I mean, same thing.
Yeah. Porn and Disney determine they are the deciding factor in any media war. So whoever they go with is the winner. In fact, the VCR almost went away because whenever they came out with the VCRs back in the early 80s, there was a huge backlash to them because movie theaters and studios thought that it was going to destroy the movie industry because it's like, why would you go to a movie when you could just tape a show on your TV and watch it anytime? There was a bunch of money traded hands to lobbyists to regulate and like make VCRs illegal because it was like a violation of copyright because you know, basically pirating stuff from TV. It was on the verge of sort of getting regulated to the point where it was going to go away. And then the porn industry started releasing porn VHSs, and it reinvigorated the life of the VCR, and it made it this huge popular thing.
Well, what does them recording TV have to do with them going to the movies?
You have to think about things with a different mind, a mind that doesn't know what we know now. Right now we know like TV and movies are different things, and one doesn't really affect, I mean, it does affect the other one. Like certainly when there was no such thing as TV, people went to the movies more because they needed more entertainment, and that was the only option. But now we know that they can kind of coexist with each other. But back then, at the advent of television, movie producers were freaking out because they were like, oh, this is the death of movies. People were just going to stay in their houses. And then as an extra step, whenever VCRs came out, it was like, fuck, like not only can they watch TV at home, but now they can watch movies at home. Like they can go to a store and rent a movie. Like, and so everyone was freaking out that it was going to kill the movie industry.
I see.
And also there was like some weird idea that like people taping TV shows and like having them on tapes and rewatching them was going to somehow replace going to the movies, which that doesn't really make sense, but that's what people were scared of.
We were doing a lot of cocaine in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that was our
Were?
Oh man, when I was 12, I was hitting those rails.
Nice.
I was also hitting the rails.
I was hitting those rails when I was 12 too. Skateboard rails.
You stepped on them.
I was grinding
cocaine into my nose.
I was grinding on a pole. I was a 12-year-old stripper.
Wow. Good times.
I just think it's interesting to point out those moments where like physical media has been on the decline for years and it's all but extinct now. And certainly none of us in this room would probably give a shit about Blu-rays or like, it's all, but this is like the real end. Like in 10 years, it's just going to be over.
Yeah. It's a ticking clock.
You know, some people actually ask me for like copies of projects I've worked on and say, hey, can I have a Blu-ray or a DVD? I'll buy it from you.
There's all of the film festivals up until very recently, they required you to send your submissions on DVDs and then Blu-rays, and they just now have started adopting a digital upload.
That's so goofy. 'Cause
Format.
do you know how much that costs just to get one Blu-ray disc made? It's really expensive.
Yeah.
And then to send it to them, and then they might not even. It's just a joke.
Yeah. I feel like we're already starting to get into the Empire Strikes Back of the reboot story, the downturn, the reversal, the second act slog.
Talk about it.
The Lizzie McGuire reboot, after shooting 2 episodes, has shut down production, and the creator of the show / showrunner has left the series.
No.
I thought that it had paused, but it's shut down.
It's
not
paused
coming-
indefinitely.
Oh, okay.
It will certainly start back up again, but for right now, there's just no word on what they're doing with it because the creator's gone. So they just have to figure out how they're gonna continue on with the show without the guy who brought the project to them, the guy who created the show.
So what are the hypotheses for why he left?
My theory. So basically, the guy left for creative differences or creative tensions, and
Classic.
Disney's statement
On
was
Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah,
Creative differences on Lizzie McGuire.
Well, it's just the
Kirk-
classic nondescript "I left."
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
kind of answers without answering.
which we hear that more and more every day. I feel like
Yeah.
people leave projects more and more every day, and that's always the answer. So Disney released a statement that said fans have a sentimental attachment to Lizzie McGuire and high expectations for a new series. After filming 2 episodes, we concluded that we need to move in a different direction and are putting a new lens on the series.
That's my favorite. We're going to put a new lens on the series.
We're
Yeah.
going a
That's
different
suck-
direction.
Oh.
So my assumption, based on the fact that originally, so this is the synopsis for the movie, and this was like sort of the creator's vision for what the reboot would be. She seemingly has it all. Her new dream job is an assistant to a fancy New York City interior designer, her dream guy in a picturesque Brooklyn apartment. But things aren't always as they seem. With a little help from her old friends and some new ones to come, her well-meaning family, and her 13-year-old alter ego in animated form, Lizzie navigates the ups and downs of adulthood. And then like Hilary Duff posted a thing on Instagram being like saying that she felt so inspired by like playing this character in her 30s as a more realistic type view of a 30-year-old, and that character is a 30-year-old. So my theory is that the creator and showrunner, he wanted to do something a little bit more realistic or not totally like perfect. I think he wanted to do something a little bit more like, what would this character actually be like in her 30s? And I think that what his vision of doing it in this like not quite so like gift wrapped way conflicted with Disney just wanting a Lizzie McGuire reboot that would be like the original show and give people nostalgia. I think that they wanted something a little bit more simple and a little bit more like, oh, look at all these characters, and they're going to reference things from the old show, and Gordo and Lizzie are going to have a will they won't they thing. And I think the creator wanted to like turn it into this more kind of like mature look at Lizzie McGuire in her 30s. And I think that they probably just clashed over that.
Yeah, it's a little confusing to me what the audience is, because based on the description, it's kind of like, it sounds like the audience would be children, because only children would believe that level, like that's what adulthood is.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's not massive amounts of student debt and considering to move back in with your parents and can't only freelance jobs. And
Are you okay, Kirk?
no, I'm having problems.
Gotcha.
If you believe
Kirk needs a Lizzie McGuire
we
reboot.
got a
do.
picture perfect plan.
I've never seen it.
We got you fooled, 'cause we're only doing the best we can.
Is that the theme song?
And sometimes we make it, and sometimes we fake it,
Boom.
but we're one step closer each and every day, and we'll figure it out on the way.
All right.
I feel like that theme song alone just really speaks to like what the creator like wanted that show to be.
So that's the theme song?
That's the
that
theme
you
song.
That's
did?
the theme song. You guys,
Oh.
none of you guys know.
Wait,
the theme
hang on a
song?
second.
It is.
Who's seen Lizzie McGuire here? Raise your hand.
I've seen it.
So when I was like, "Is that the theme song?" You're like, I had no idea.
I did not pay attention that much.
It's what do you mean you didn't
I-
pay attention?
I
that
was like
much?
I was like 8 to 10 years old, I liked
Isn't that
it
the
had
perfect age
girls
for
in
it?
it. I didn't care what was actually going on or paying attention to anything that I was actually.
What'd you say,
happening.
Kurt?
First of all, that
What's the perfect age for Lizzie McGuire
The
to
perfect-
watch when you were at that age?
Oh, yeah, probably 8 to 10.
Oh, so you're right in
I
that.
don't
you're-
remember.
it's
I remember. I like
it-
remember the
you
Full
could be a
House theme
teenager.
song.
if you watch a show
That's
over and
pretty
over
much
again,
it.
the repetition alone will cause you to at least remember the song.
It
Oh,
sounds
I
like-
use the intro to get food from the kitchen
Yeah, I don't.
Why didn't you go before the intro?
because I don't want to see the intro.
You got to use the commercials for the.
No,
food.
the intro is boring.
You could probably watch it up to about 14.
Then you get age gated. You're just like they're like, nope, sorry.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think we're starting to see the cracks in the veneer. That we're starting to see the tensions and the ugly underbelly of this reboot world we live in, where sometimes you can't always just remake Lizzie McGuire. Sometimes mommy and daddy can't come to an agreement,
Sometimes
and they have to get divorced, and they'll tell you it's not your fault, even though it kind of low key is.
That's what Lizzie
told you that in
McGuire should be
That's
about.
what creative differences means.
It is.
It's your fault.
It's always your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jumping from one end of the nostalgia spectrum to the other, a Quantum Leap reboot is potentially coming to Peacock. Jeff Bader says there's a chance Scott Bakula could make the leap back to NBC Universal family. At the Television Critics Association winter meeting, the NBCU head of program planning and strategy spoke to Slash Film about the possibility of reviving Quantum Leap for NBCU's upcoming streaming service.
Well, hello. Good
Hello.
morning.
That's-
Good morning.
That's my streaming service.
Yeah, cock.
it's
that's-
it's a really good service.
That's where the reboot of Legend of the Hidden Temple is going on. If you
Jar Jar
remember-
Binks.
No, remember from that where it's the
Oh, yeah,
adult
yeah.
version where they
Yeah.
fuck.
Oh, the hidden.
I
temples
got
of
a streaming
China.
service called Cock. It's got one show on it.
Wow.
It's about a CEO fell off his perch. He's got to get his walk back, guys.
No, it's porn.
Oh, God.
Created by Donald P. Belisario, Quantum Leap lasted 5 seasons on NBC and became one of the most popular science fiction shows in the 90s. The series followed Dr. Sam Beckett, who goes into the Quantum Leap Accelerator and time travels within the years of his natural life. With each leap, he trades bodies living as his subject. Sam's only guide on his journey is Al, played by Dean Stockwell, who appears as a hologram and informs him of his mission. Once completed, he makes the next leap. Sam hopes each new leap gets him back home and into his own body, but they are random. The epilogue confirms Sam never makes the leap home. So Belisario confirmed he wrote the script for a television movie that gives a more definitive ending to Sam's journey, but it never saw the light of day. In 2009, SyFy considered a Quantum Leap reboot with a new cast, but it never developed. And now they're talking about bringing it to Peacock. Who here has seen Quantum Leap?
I never watched.
You
Quantum
never
Leap.
watched Quantum Leap?
No, I was doing cool things. The cocaine parts. Remember? I just told you about it.
You were at home watching a different show.
I was exactly. That's exactly what I was doing. I'll write. Scott Bakula's cool. Is he going to leave?
How can you have the opinion that Scott Bakula is cool if you've never seen Quantum Leap?
Because I've seen him in other vehicles.
Yeah, but that is you can't have a well-rounded opinion of Scott Bakula without having seen Quantum Leap.
He did a wonderful football movie with Jason Bateman. I can't remember the name of it right
Do you
now.
like Jason Bateman?
Love Jason Bateman.
Love Jason Bateman.
Seems like he'd be up your alley.
I don't know if that's a compliment or
It
not.
didn't sound like
It's
one.
a-
It didn't
at
sound
all.
like a
It's a
compliment at
100%
all.
neutral observation.
That's
Was it a
There's
neutral
no such
observation
thing.
because your voice made it sound like it was
Yeah.
not
My
neutral?
voice always sounds like this.
So
and
it's
you know
always
that.
judgy?
No, it seems like the type of person you would like.
Listen, she's saying that you liked Teen Wolf 2 better than the original Teen Wolf.
Oh, 100%.
Ah.
The boxing one over the basketball? That's not true. Of course, the basketball one.
You ever see that Jason Bateman movie from the 80s where there's a group of friends and they like hadn't seen each other for a while and they get back together and like he's like the funny one of the group and he's like the one that everyone's like, oh, he's so carefree and he's a goofball or whatever, but then like he's secretly dying of cancer and then it's about them like
That sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Oh.
I don't think it is. But Scott, back to Mr. Scott Bakula. I think he's on like NCIS. He's not going to leave that NCIS money. Kelby, do you leave the NCIS money?
What's the other network?
The CBS that NCIS
Yeah.
like those.
No,
NCIS New Orleans.
What's the network that the new show is going to be on?
Peacock.
It's both network money. It's fine.
Yeah, but come on, that NCIS money.
I mean, he's going to get so much residuals for so long.
I mean, you don't jump ship on a syndicated procedural show that's going to just live on for 50 seasons to go onto a show that is destined to have one season and then it gets scrapped.
he'll probably do both.
I mean, yeah.
If he does both, yeah.
That's the only
That's
thing.
good.
Yeah,
He would
he'll do it
yeah.
on the off season.
Yeah.
But I
See?
love Quantum Leap.
What a crossover event, though. He jumps into a suspect, and he has to.
Every now and then, you shoot brilliance out of your mouth. Wow.
That's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
Thanks,
So you're
guys.
just gonna take my
Wow.
idea like that?
And the unsung hero of Quantum Leap, like Scott Bakula's fine, but Dean Stockwell,
That was a
fucking,
funny dude. Sarcastic. As a hologram.
He was a hologram in the
Yes.
show?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
he's his hologram companion.
I thought he was like his handler.
Well, he is. The only way they can communicate with him is by sending a hologram to talk to him, and he works at the lab where the thing is developed, and he can come into the hologram chamber and go to see him and talk to him, and he tries to help him navigate through the time.
I'm glad I watched my other show when this was on.
I mean, you don't like sci-fi, but
Yeah.
if you didn't, if that wasn't the case, whatever the other show you watched just has nothing on Quantum Leap.
Maybe I was out. No, I was
No, you were not.
I was-
There's a Chucky TV show that's been ordered straight to series at SyFy. SyFy has given out a straight to series order for a show based on the iconic horror character Chucky, the central figure in the Child's Play film franchise. The news comes just under a year after SyFy first announced they had acquired the television rights to the film. The series hails from Don Mancini, who wrote the film franchise on which the series is based. Mancini will also serve as showrunner and executive producer in addition to directing the first episode. After they shoot 2 episodes, he's going to quit because he wanted to do a more realistic look at Chucky in his 30s.
For some reason, I can only imagine
classic.
that show as a comedy.
Well, the original ones were kind of
Yeah.
comedies. The first one less so, but after the first one, 2 through all the other ones, they became it had the exact same trajectory as Nightmare on Elm Street, where the first one was more of a serious thing, and then as the franchise went on, they turned the character into this more like kind of goofy jokester character. So Chucky, he's voiced by Brad Dourif, character actor, and
that guy.
the voice he does for Chucky is just a Jack Nicholson impression. He's just like a little smartass and he makes jokes, and it's kind of like a corny. He makes puns and things like that.
Didn't he marry Jennifer Tilly in Bride of Chucky?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this revered? Like, do people like, oh, Chucky?
I know Bride
Yeah,
of Chucky has
people
like a
really
cult
love
following.
the Chucky movies. There's sort of like 2 camps because there's like Child's Play 1 through 3, which are the OG ones.
Mm-hmm.
And like Child's Play 1 and 2 are good, and then 3 is pretty good, kind of started to go off the rails a little bit. And then they brought the character back for like the Bride of Chucky, Seed
Yeah.
of Chucky, Curse of Chucky. And those ones are like kind of a different thing. They're made by, they're really just like black comedies.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people who really love those movies. There are people who love the original trilogy and think the later ones suck. And then there are people who just love all of them. It's definitely like a big cult classic thing.
I can't imagine this going more than a season.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
on
Like how-
Sci-Fi. It's on Sci-Fi Network.
Does it? And that means
it'll go
It's-
for 1 season.
No,
Oh,
no. If
okay.
it was on CBS, it would go for 1 season. On
No,
Sci-Fi Network,
Sci-Fi cancels things left and right. Like that's all they do
not
is just
as
cancel
quickly
shit.
as network stuff.
Yeah,
They'll get 2 seasons.
Chuck NATO.
maybe Chuck NATO. I was like,
It's just nerdy.
I don't even
Zachary
want to
Levi.
go through what I just went through my mind.
yeah.
A tornado made of Chuck Schumer and Ralph Nader. That's what I thought of.
Oh God, that's a lot of flappy skin.
What? I don't even know why your brain went there. I mean, there's so many different places you could have gone, and you went there.
I went there hard.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. So no opinions on the Child's Play franchise.
I only
Anyone?
saw. I think Child's Play's dumb.
Yeah,
That's my
all
hot take.
all of them are real.
They're all
real
dumb, and why are you going to make a series out of it that's going to be 1 season? Because where's it going to go? What journey are you going to take with Chucky? If he's the primary figure in it,
It'll probably be really
He's
good.
it's gonna
Are
be
the
like
Child's Play movies dumb? No, you're wrong. Is this
they're purposely
is
dumb.
the series gonna be make? But I don't know how this is gonna be a series.
Yeah.
They
I
should
don't-
put it.
it's
on
gonna be
that-
like oh God.
They should put it on that network that you had us watch. The
Shudder.
Shudder. They should put it on Shudder.
Yeah, it could be a cool Shudder show.
I think they're gonna probably do it from Chucky's point of view. He's gonna talk to the audience.
There's a scene in the first Child's Play. This cop gets into his car and Chucky's in the car, and he stabs him through the back of the seat.
Mhm.
Like he has a knife and he like through the seat stabs him. And that gave me a lifelong fear of being stabbed through the back of a car seat. And I always checked to make sure there was nothing behind me.
You should never call shotgun.
Where does a baby doll get the strength?
It's like a robot.
It's not possessed by the devil.
It is possessed by the
No,
devil.
it's possessed by a Satanist.
Yeah, he's a serial killer who's played by Brad Dourif.
Oh,
and he uses
okay.
like a voodoo curse to put his soul into the doll when he's dying.
Yeah.
You're not making the case for this being a smart.
But the doll is like an animatronic thing.
I see what you're saying.
So
Okay.
ostensibly it has the rigidity to be able to like have strength, but also it's a movie, so it's just movie logic. Doesn't have to make sense.
I think I'm overanalyzing.
I mean,
it's gonna be trash.
It's gonna be bad.
I think it'll be good.
Oh, you know what?
Wait,
Throw
is it-
Jar Jar Binks in there, and I'm in. I'm fucking in.
I mean, don't speak too soon. There's a new Silence of the Lambs TV show called Clarice coming to CBS.
Clarice.
CBS just closed a deal to make Silence of the Lambs sequel series. The new show, titled Clarice, will focus on the Clarice Sterling. Isn't it Starling? Is it Sterling
I
or
thought it
Starling?
was Sterling.
Maybe. Okay.
Starling sounds right though.
Sterling
I thought it was
sounds wrong.
Starling. Sterling sounds
I
wrong?
feel confident it's Sterling.
Ooh,
Tade.
should we Google?
Tade.
Do we Google?
Yeah.
Not even like a
Todd's
question,
on it.
just Tade.
That's the
Research
call right there.
representative.
That's right.
Starling?
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
I copied and pasted this name from a source.
So with
and
an A.
and they wrote it Sterling.
Starling.
I'm not saying I was right, but
No, you were right. I was wrong. But something's Sterling in my brain.
Sterling Archer?
yeah.
Sterling is
Sterling
right somewhere.
Silver.
Not Sterling Silver.
Serving platter.
No,
What?
something stored somewhere different. Not there.
Oh,
Do you watch
filed in
Archer?
a different cabinet.
Yeah, Starling, right, Todd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just confirming.
Yeah, I just wanted to be 100% positive
Yeah.
that I was wrong.
A pilot script has already been written, and the network is pursuing a full series order. With that being said, the pilot will have to be cast and shot before the network makes its final decision on whether to move forward or not. With something as big as the Silence of the Lambs, it will more than likely get the green light. Now, so they're making this show, and it's going to be called Clarice, and it's going to be about Clarice.
Yeah.
But the other sort of more interesting news is when this was announced, there was a huge backlash on social media from all of the Hannibal fans.
Oh God, people got time on their hands.
I think this will be a success.
Probably.
Yeah.
If they do it right, I think this could be, especially with the crime drama craze that's happening right now. But a lot, if they do the show correctly, I think this will be a success.
Well, the concept could be a great show. Like I don't know how they're going to do it or how it fits into the timeline. But the Silence of the Lambs is about her sort of like trying to track down this killer and then like utilizing Hannibal Lecter to like help get into the mind of a killer.
Yeah.
So a show that is a procedural where every episode is a different killer and it's about her working with Hannibal Lecter, and Hannibal Lecter is almost kind of like the house of the show or whatever. That would be a great show.
Yeah.
I feel like they did that with Blacklist and James Spader.
They did it with Mind. Although Mindhunter, I think, explores the origins of that happening in real life. And Mindhunter was a great show.
What if they counterpoint? What if they shot it like The Office instead?
No.
And it was like they were
Absolutely
making
not.
a documentary about the entire thing.
That-
It doesn't have to be funny.
That's
Like
not even worth commenting.
Come
on.
on.
It makes no sense.
Didn't in the outline it said that it's going to take place 1 year after the movie, so it's taking place in '93. I love that idea. The fact that it's set in '93 and it's a year later and she's still dealing with all that shit, that makes me want to see the show. That sounds very interesting.
Who's a better Hannibal Lecter? Anthony Hopkins, Mads Mikkelsen, or Brian Cox?
Brian Cox,
I knew you were going to say that.
because I'm old.
Yes. And because Manhunter is low-key a better movie than The Silence of the Lambs.
It is. I mean, it is. It's way good.
So following the news reports, the fans have taken to social media with hashtag Save Hannibal in an attempt to breathe new life into the Hannibal series that was canceled back in 2015 after 3 seasons. Fans refuse to give up hope that Brian Fuller's series adaptation of Silence of the Lambs will return with stars Mads Mikkelsen and Hugh Dancy. Fuller took to Twitter to give his thoughts on the Clarice Hannibal situation. He said, Martha De Laurentiis and I tried many times to work with MGM to include Clarice into our Hannibal story. They ultimately told us they had their own plans for Clarice and they didn't need Hannibal to tell her story. Don't think this impacts a potential Hannibal season 4 as we never had Clarice rights. I'm all for the idea of like, I don't think it should happen now, but 10 years ago, I'm all for them having given Joss Whedon some money to make Firefly season 2. I'm all for the idea of like a show that is prematurely canceled, like getting brought back if it really deserves it and if it was really canceled for like a bullshit reason and it was killed before its time. But on the other hand, or to play devil's advocate with myself, something like Firefly was the proto like bring this back type thing. Like before any of this reboot shit started happening, like that was the show that was like the one show for years that everyone was like, bring it back, you know, because it got canceled after one season. And it wasn't given a chance to like find an audience until after it was released on DVD, and then they got the movie and then all that. But now we're seemingly living in this time where like when a show gets canceled by a network prematurely or whatever, all you have to do is just everyone goes on social media and says like bring it back, and then like somebody will bring it back, like Netflix will bring it back or whatever. And it's like too much now, where it's like just like if a show gets canceled, just like let it be canceled. Like not everything has to live forever.
There'll be other shows that you can enjoy.
No, bring back Lost.
Bring back Lost.
Yeah. Wasn't a satisfying ending.
That's right. They didn't cancel Lost.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is the problem I'm talking about. I never watched Lost, and I
didn't either.
It's great.
What do you even?
It was a fucking joke.
I was about to say a real thing.
I was doing the thing you were complaining about, and you were about to go in on it too.
Lost was great.
But yeah, but a lot of people were let down by the ending from I observed.
That's true.
But that would be the exact issue of like, if the ending was bad, or if the ending was bad to a certain amount of people, even a majority of people, the filmmakers failed. They had a bad ending. That doesn't mean redo.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have a mulligan and go back and like. It just means that they kind of failed and that sucks and it's over now.
Nah, they got to do another season of Sopranos.
Well, they're doing the pre-Sopranos.
That's not good. That's not enough.
Oh, the Altos.
We're gonna have to ask you to leave.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm resentful of this thing that studios are doing where they're just like enabling like shitty internet people now.
Honestly,
it's like the way that
they do it on purpose.
The way that they retconned The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and how they bring back every show that somebody goes on and complains about. It's like, stop validating
the show
shitty internet.
The show is never canceled. They cancel it, quote unquote, so that they can build a bigger audience for it. It's not really canceled.
And then they go, we've heard your cries.
Yeah.
We listen to our audience.
No, I don't
We're
think they're
bringing it back.
validating. They're just seeing a place where they can make money. They're seeing.
I know that they're doing that, but I'm saying that what is happening is that in doing that, they're validating these people.
Why does that bother you so much? You don't have to watch the
Why does it bother me that toxic people are being validated in their toxicity?
How are they toxic? Because they want
Here we
more
go.
of a story that ended poorly.
Because they find like the heads of like Fox or whatever and like send them death threats and say that they're gonna like rape people to death if they don't bring back shows.
Obviously that's completely inappropriate. But I think that something innocent like, oh, I wish that we could have this show as a reboot, or I wish someone would remake this show. This show is innocent. Like I mean, that's just people saying things. If the networks want to listen, that's fine, and if they don't, like, that's fine. I guess I just don't.
But it's not innocent though, because these people and these really toxic things that they do and say in the name of their own fandom being insulted are inextricably linked.
Okay, well then that's obviously inappropriate, but that wasn't in the original thing that you were saying.
Well, I'm not saying that happened in this specific case, but I'm saying that this is a huge problem. Fandoms are more and more, as the internet connects us all, just more and more toxic and shitty, and people just say and do horrible things in the name of their own sensibilities being offended, whether it's like a show being canceled or them adding like a black guy to a show that didn't originally have a black guy in it, or making 007 a woman or whatever. And I think that it's just a slow chipping away at the sanctity of movie studios and art creators not validating that type of person. And we give them more and more slack. And then one day, we're going to be so far over to the edge where we unilaterally kowtow to shitty internet trolls. I'm not saying that this story in and of itself is an example of that. I think it's just a small piece of a chipping away at, you don't negotiate with terrorists. I just don't agree with this. I don't agree with this philosophy of listening to people complain on social media and then like actually giving them what they want.
Can I say something?
Yes.
You just quoted one of my lines from the movie Time Lock. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was on purpose, of course.
That's all I had to say. Just real happy.
Did you say we don't negotiate with terrorists and then cock that shotgun?
No, that was a different scene. That's when I cocked the shotgun and said, "We'll get her, sir." Which we never saved her. But
Oh,
that's
that
okay.
movie. That movie needs to go on cock. It's a good movie.
Oh, yeah. Two movies.
Time Lock on cock.
The Legends of the Hidden Temple porn remake, and then Time Lock. But I've gone in and digitally removed your clothes.
And Julia left for that.
I agree with you. And I think it just kind of also makes people less inclined to create new things when all they see is like, I'm going to create this new thing, but all the effort's going to go into getting something else that's already been made back on the air. I think people just get discouraged.
I mean, on one hand, it's always nice that, people have a say and they get to voice their opinions. But on the other hand, I'm also of the mind of like, something's just got to end.
Yeah, but if you really
got to end in life.
If you really want to just contact the person who made it, tell them you'll pay them to make a new version for you. If you're really that inclined to get this shit done, start a Patreon for yourself to get a new season made, give all the money to the creator that you want to do it, and they'll fail again. They already showed that they weren't good enough to create something you like. Don't give them another chance with your money. It's annoying.
That's a little far, but Robert Englund is expected to return for a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie. According to recent reports, the Craven estate is currently in the process of considering pitches for a new story within the Kruger mythology that can be expanded across films and television. And Englund is expected to once again put on the striped shirt, fedora, and glove knives and terrorize a new generation of viewers. This comes after a reboot in 2010 all but killed the franchise, and Englund recently mentioned in interviews that he thinks he has one more Nightmare on Elm Street in him. So we reported on this on a previous episode that the Wes Craven estate has regained the full rights to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and so they were sort of like taking pitches for doing a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie and potentially a Nightmare on Elm Street show. And now we're hearing that they are sort of like in the process of developing a new movie, and that Robert Englund, the original Freddy Krueger actor, is actually going to return to play Freddy in this movie, which will be, pretty much the only way that fans would have it. The reboot of Nightmare on Elm Street in 2010 with Jackie Earle Haley playing Freddy Krueger was bad. It was bad. But even if it was good, even if it was really good, people just wouldn't have accepted it.
Because they want Robert.
Yeah, because these fans of these types of things, when you have like the Nightmare on Elm Streets and the Hellraiser, these movies that have these huge cult followings around them, and that actor who plays that character becomes so synonymous with it, they just refuse to accept anything else. Mm-hmm. Friday the 13th is a little different because the character is just wearing a mask and you just kind of can't see him. Yeah. So there's never really been a huge issue with the actor who plays Jason changing. With a character like Freddy Krueger, who Robert Englund is so sort of germane to the character. Like, there's nothing you could do. You could make a great movie, but if it didn't have him,
what's the point?
People would freak out and hate it.
I think it's a good idea for a movie. Don't make it a TV show. Please don't. I'm begging, don't make this a TV. It's like Chucky. Don't make it a TV show. Make another movie as a one-off. Leave TV alone. I know what you're going to say.
I can see there
being money in TV.
I can see there being a Friday the 13th.
I wasn't thinking any of that.
I could see there being a Nightmare on Elm Street show more than I could see there being a Child's Play show.
Elaborate.
Because there could be because with the Chucky one, it's like, what is that? How does that play out over multiple episodes? Because it's just a doll killing people. Mm-hmm. That concept, just how is that a show? And maybe they come up with an idea that makes sense or whatever, but I just don't see it. But with Nightmare on Elm Street, every episode could be about a different group of teenagers, and maybe the group of teenagers are dealing with their own problems, and they have their own different fears and anxieties and things that they're dealing with, and then Freddy exploits those things in their dreams. So it has a little bit more legs to be fleshed out into a show. Let
me pitch something to you. I'm going to get a little Tyler-ish here.
Oh boy.
Okay, I'm going to jump on the Tyler bandwagon.
I think it should be in the style of a Goofy movie.
No. Okay, so what if in the series it's a group of teenagers that he's tormenting, but teenagers today have so much more anxieties that they're not even fucking phased by Freddy.
He's just like, fuck.
He's and he's just frustrated all the time.
Love it.
What will get you?
Yeah, it's like he tries
Is
to
none of this
scare
tracking
him.
for you?
And they're just like, we're getting trashed on social media all the time.
Yeah.
We're constantly worried about our future and the climate change.
Yeah.
You're doing nothing to us, Freddy. And he's just constantly like, God, these kids.
Yeah,
He's got to figure out new ways to get to him. Like
Yeah.
he like appears in a dream and he's like, "Do your taxes!" Aha! And they're like, "Fuck!"
Yeah, that's the only way is to give like real life scares.
And he's just really off put by it. He's like, one of the dreams is just like a news report where he's like a news anchor just talking about how the we have like
Yeah.
we only have like scientists are reporting we only have about 5 good years left before global warming takes over. And he's just like, this is just fucking boring. Like
Yeah. And like every time he tries to scare them, they're just like, okay, boomer.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we got the makings of a hit.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
But all as a goofy cartoon.
Yes, it's going to be animated.
the weird thing about Nightmare on Elm Street that just sort of gets overlooked and it's not a part of the mainstream canon that's discussed is like, as I talked about earlier, as the movies went on, he became more of this like jokey, funny character who just would say all these like jokes and puns or whatever. And the franchise kind of became about him and him being this funny villain character that you want, and you just wanted to watch him torture people. And he was this beloved guy, but he's a pedophile.
Oh God, that's like
He's
the
a-
origin, right?
He's a pedophile and child murderer.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Who is that girl I see
lot of singing in
staring
this one.
straight
This is a big
back
episode.
at me? When will my reflection show who I am inside?
Killed it. I loved it.
Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons? Todd is pushing me on, but I'm going to keep singing because I can't see his face, so I can't see his disapproval, and I just tell him he's going to cut it out.
Oh, I can see it. I got a good angle on
So
Todd's
he's gonna
disapproval.
cut you.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Lou's gonna be standing outside waiting for you. after this.
Enjoy these versions of these songs because you're not getting any in the real movie. Not only is there not going to be any Mushu in the Mulan remake, we ain't biting any more butts because there's no butts to bite because there's no Mushu. There's also not going to be any songs.
Oh, really?
Shame on Disney. Shame on their cow.
Good for them.
No songs.
Don't want them. Don't need them.
You're an objectively
What is
wrong
wrong with you?
person.
I think
Here,
it might work.
listen.
Why?
Hang
Because
on.
It looks so serious.
It's going to
Mulan?
suck.
No, it's going to be great.
Nah, it's
I will
it's a
put
different movie.
money. I will put money on the table that Mulan the movie is going to be objectively good. It's not going to be the cartoon.
It's a different thing.
It's a different thing, but it's going to be objectively good. Money on the table.
I don't even
have my
care
wallet.
about the songs. I just think it's going to suck regardless.
No, it looks great. How? Why? It
It's
looks
really
great.
serious, so I think it might.
It's a war movie.
Yeah.
It's a war movie. That's what they want to make. So they're making a war movie.
But-
You guys,
Is it-
you guys
okay.
are supporting fascism because the actress who played Mulan criticized Hong Kong.
Oh. That's true.
That's what
But-
we're doing.
She's like the whole in Mulan, it was like she pretended to be a man because women can do everything that men can do. And then
That's in this movie.
there's a witch with actual powers in this movie. Actual powers.
Okay.
That can manipulate space around her and send fireballs through her hands. No human can do anything about that. I can imagine her facing Attila the Hun or whoever the guy was in the movie and defeating him because he's only a human. She is a supernatural being. It doesn't matter if she's a woman overcoming these barriers. She's not going to defeat a witch.
So well, first of all, it's a movie.
She's going to defeat a witch. Yeah, she's
going
definitely going to defeat a witch.
Second of all, that's the thing you're mad about.
Yeah, I don't, I
That's
don't
the
know. I don't
that's
know.
the thing you're
Like,
mad about with
I
Mulan.
liked-
You
I
always
liked the
find a
original.
way. You always find a way to agree with me in a way that is insane and makes
I
no
just-
sense and
Why do you
and
change
makes
this-
me
why do you
want to
change the
disavow
story
my
so
own
much?
opinion.
I
You
get-
have
I
his
get what
back,
I
but
get
in the
what you're trying to
weirdest
say.
way
I don't
possible.
care if Andrew agrees. I just don't understand why they had to change it so much.
I get
Well,
what
how
you're
did they
trying to say,
change
but
it
I
so
see it
much?
in
Adding a witch to it.
Oh, that's okay. They take the songs out
Making
because
it-
they want to make it a movie about war,
Again, take the songs out. That's fine.
and they don't need
take
a
the
dragon.
Mushu out.
Yeah,
That's fine.
it's fine.
Again, I don't think those things are needed, but adding the supernatural element that she has to also overcome is kind of like I don't understand why that had to be added.
Money on the table. It's going to be a good movie.
Alright.
Money on the table. It makes money.
How much?
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's gonna make
If
money.
I
definitely gonna
had
make
my
money.
wallet right
All
now,
all these
gonna
other
make
movies.
I
make
have a
money.
20 in there. I put
Dang.
$20.
Lion King made tons
I
of
got
money.
a fat
Double
20.
digits.
Aladdin made tons of money.
Yeah, and that movie was garbage. This is going to be better than
Which one was garbage?
Aladdin.
yeah. Full disclosure, I didn't see it.
I think they
Aladdin wasn't garbage.
It
So-
wasn't great though.
My son
Cats
loved
in
it.
1917
cool.
came out at the same time.
Yeah,
I think they were like, they saw, Cats flopped. 1917 worked. They took the hint and they took a direction.
It's a pretty solid theory.
Thanks.
That would mean that they made the movie
Like
last
2 weeks
week.
ago.
Yeah. Last.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now I think
But-
that they pretty much just said like, first of all, the remake of the songs don't quite work. They didn't work in Lion King.
They're
They didn't really
Yeah.
work in Aladdin.
The thing that occurred, like watching parts of the Aladdin movie, the thing that like makes the music not work so much is because in a live action form, they just can't make the musical sequence as dynamic.
No, yeah.
Like, because in the movie, it's like the genie, like I saw the Prince Ali live action song,
Mhm.
and even though it's like huge and it's kind of replicating those like sort of Bollywood like giant dance sequences that they do in the cartoon, the genie's like flying all over the place and he's changing into different characters and he's like becoming Groucho Marx and he's like turning into a crowd of girls and like he's going all over the place and like it's a cartoon. In the movie, even though they have this huge crowd and they've spent millions of dollars doing this scene, they're still just kind of people walking in a line.
Yeah.
And like Will Smith, he's kind of swallowed by it all.
yeah.
Like because he's not that huge cartoon character that can change sizes and shapes and fly around. He's just kind of a guy walking. He just gets swallowed by this giant scene.
Yeah.
And it just came off as like very kind of like deadened and undynamic.
It would be very difficult to do Mulan the way that they're doing it with music.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
It would
And I
be
think even
hard.
in the quote,
Agreed.
it's like we're having a war. We're not gonna break out into song in the middle of a war.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
soldiers sing as they run.
that statement rung to me as just a bullshit PR statement because nobody breaks out into song ever.
Yeah.
The thing she said applies to everything. That's just a musical is a hyper realistic thing. Nobody ever breaks out into a choreographed song.
You've been
in
breaking
any
out into song for
circumstance.
this entire podcast.
A giant choreographed song that speaks to like what's happening in the moment.
But it's
That
not
doesn't-
needed in a war
that doesn't
movie.
happen in
it's
real
not
life.
necessarily needed and it's not necessarily needed in a war movie, is
Yeah,
what they're
right.
saying.
Yeah.
They're saying it doesn't fit.
It's the tone. of
It's
the
a
movie.
different tone.
Yeah.
They're doing a movie about a war. Why put in music in it? It may not be a good fit. Let's
Music
just have an
can
action
still have
movie.
a dark tone though.
Sure,
Yeah.
but it can also not necessarily fit a movie that you're trying to make a war movie about.
But is it is Mulan about the war? No,
I
I
think
don't think Mulan's about the war.
I think saying it's
does
a war movie
does
is
she not become a soldier to fight a war?
Mhm.
right, but
That's what
okay.
the movie is. That's what the movie is.
I think calling it a war movie is just a PR bullshit.
I
Yeah,
think you're a PR bullshit statement.
Damn, y'all gotta fight.
Regardless of what you think about this fucking fiasco with Mulan,
You're a fiasco.
I got something.
You're not gonna watch
Keep
it
it up.
anyways.
Of course, I'm not. I got something for the two of you that you're gonna love, despite the fact that it makes no goddamn sense.
We'll see. Don't tell me
And
what
you are insane, and you are a troll.
I'm not a troll.
But
hit us with it.
bearded Jar Jar Binks is gonna return in the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. To the delight of nobody except for two people who don't even know who Jar Jar Binks is and have just decided to love him as like
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
I haven't even seen the movies that Jar Jar Binks originally are in. Here's the
I
thing.
think-
I'm here
I
for
don't
the
like it.
beard. Like I'm here for the
I
beard.
don't understand how he's gonna grow a beard.
Hang on a second. I'm here for a specific type of
He
beard.
doesn't have a chin.
If he's going like that long, like lumberjack, and then it's cut off here, no. But if it's like
What?
I'm here for this, where it's tight, it's clean.
I'm pretty sure Gungans are black, so it could be that.
I want a tight, clean beard with good lines. I don't want anything shaggy like David Letterman. That's what I want.
I don't think I,
can
like
talk
this
about
idea.
David Letterman like that.
You motherfucker! I don't even want to. God damn it!
I mean, I could explain to you
It's
why
so
I don't
better.
like it.
I love it.
I think
Alright.
putting him back at home is whatever, but to put him in a game show, That's like so. out
He's
of this-
not in the game show.
Yeah, but it's the person doing
God
it. That's
damn it.
He's
it.
hosting
Tell
it.
me.
So it's like, to me, it's like, okay, we're gonna take him completely out of his element and do something completely brand new. But to just do more Star Wars with him being in Star Wars, whoop de doo.
I don't know why. I
Yeah.
don't know the Jar Jar Binks character, and I don't know why. I know that he was hated. Your eyes are going to melt. So I don't know why they're putting him back in to start if people hated him from the start.
Yeah,
What do you think about
That
all
being
this?
said, wait. That being said, I'm here for the beard. Okay.
yeah, it's a good.
I don't know Jar Jar Binks.
I
The name's a bit catchy. Beards work on some people.
Mhm.
I agree. David Letterman lost his mind growing that big thing,
You
but
guys
he's
are-
also
thank-
kind of
thank you, Joe.
advanced in age, and he can, you can make those choices.
So you're like, you can get away with it because you're like, oh well.
as long as
You
it's
guys
a
are all
choice
terrible.
that
Beards are
doesn't like
amazing.
hurt other people. I mean, he's just doing it for his own thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just laziness after years of having to shave every single day of his life.
Yeah, I think.
It's not for looks.
That's why he lives in Montana, where there are more animals than people, so he doesn't have to. Anyways,
and Arby's.
the beard could work, and that's about it. That's
That's
the
it.
extent of my knowledge base on Jar Jar Binks.
Can we put a pin in something real quick?
The only Binks.
Arby's. There's a lot.
He likes to reference that.
Is
and
there a
I-
lot of Arby's in Montana?
No,
The main sandwich at Arby's is called the Big Montana.
Oh.
but there Arby's isn't popular.
It's after Joe Montana though.
I just
No,
had
it's not.
Arby's for the first time a couple weeks ago. It wasn't good.
Arby's is actually really good.
They've stepped
It's
their
like
game
the
up in the last 5
unsung
years.
I like Arby's.
fast food restaurant. I don't eat meat anymore, so there's really nothing I can eat there. Like, it literally, their slogan is "We got the meats."
Yeah.
But when I did eat meat, Arby's is like that weird thing where you never go to Arby's, and you always say like, "Who goes to Arby's?" But when you go to Arby's, you're like, "This shit is good."
It's delicious.
It wasn't that good.
It's good.
when I had it.
Why would you want a bunch of meat that's fast food? It's-
I mean, I
People
like
love
that,
it.
actually.
I don't
People
eat it
love
anymore.
Any
crap.
burger joint ever? Just
Yeah.
like
I
You've
know-
just described all of fast food.
All of
but
fast food is just
deli meat, the roast beef, all that,
I'm
and
here
you
for it.
know it's garbage.
It was good though. I coveted
it's
it.
delicious.
It's not that good.
I have not been to Arby's in like 20 years, and I remember loving it.
I don't know why I didn't like
It's like
it.
just low key a great
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
that
100%.
for some reason has this reputation of nobody goes there.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit, it doesn't know who to target yet
Yeah.
for its audience. It's sort of like it's trying to do that Firehouse Subs things I was talking about, where it's like we're meat, we're for people who need that meat.
You need that meat?
Oh, wait, we need to save this for our food
Go to
podcast.
Firehouse. Oh, food podcast now.
The only Binks worth his salt is Zachary Binks from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Or Thackeray Binks.
Thackeray.
I always thought it was Zachary when I was a kid, but it's actually Thackeray.
So essentially, you're saying that Jar Jar Binks is.
God, I love how you say that.
Thank you. Is a popular character. He's popular enough to be put in a new show.
No, everybody hates Jar Jar Binks. I
Yeah.
think they're putting him back in the show.
I hate him enough to invest in him.
Curious is what you're thinking.
Disney's
odd.
doing some.
That's so weird.
I mean, no matter what you say, people hated hated Jar Jar Binks, like
it sounds like.
unilaterally hated him. I think there's this weird thing we're in right now where like there's this weird like almost like Stockholm syndrome nostalgia where people are looking back nostalgically on the prequels because as a contrarianism to how much they hate the new movies, and it's like this weird fucked up thing where people are kind of going back and pretending like the prequels weren't as bad as we acted like they were, and it's only because they're doing it in opposition to the new movies. So it's tied up in all this toxic like we don't like the new Star Wars movies because it's got like forced diversity because they put all these black people and women in it. And now we're going to go back and pretend like we liked the sequels and that they're not as bad as we thought they were. So this whole thing of like doing this Obi-Wan show and bringing Ewan McGregor back to play Obi-Wan and getting Jar Jar Binks in it, it's all part of this fucked up thing that I was talking about earlier where the just corporate machine has just gotten so up its own ass with like being too scared to make choices and trying to please everybody that they're almost like just unintentionally validating shitty toxic people, Nazis, racists, and sexists.
Yeah.
Let me take it further and weirder.
Oh,
I don't have one for this
gosh.
one. I
He's
don't.
got no.
I love Ian McGregor though.
So you think they're unintentionally validating Nazis, racists, and bigots.
Yeah, they're not
You don't-
openly trying to do that. They're just, by virtue of what they're doing, it's kind of just what they're doing. They're listening to the loud minority voice on the internet, which you should never do, and they're being like, oh, people didn't like the Asian girl from Last Jedi, so let's completely cut her out of the entire movie. And the reason why people didn't like her is because she was Asian.
Do you think it's unintentional, or do you think they simply do not care?
Well, they don't care, and they're just scared, and they're just trying to please these voices that they're hearing, and these voices that they're hearing should not be validated, but they're doing it because they want to make money, and they're scared, and they don't. And the nature of movie studios that's always existed is that they're just scared of taking risks, and we've been pushed so far in that direction, and the snake has eaten so much of its own tail.
Where does that fear come from? Just the fear of not making as much money as they can possibly make?
I mean, yes, but also just like making money in general. Like a couple of bombs can like sink a movie studio.
Even a big one?
Yeah, so they're always scared of just putting out too many movies that don't do well.
Yeah.
But also, Samuel L. Jackson is reportedly returning as Mace Windu in the Obi-Wan series in a flashback.
I mean, like not as a regular,
yeah,
but
just in a flashback.
He's the same age. So.
Yeah.
Wait, so then is Hugh McGregor going to have a series? He's having his own
it's his
series.
series.
It's
Yeah.
his,
Yeah.
Then
It's like an Obi-Wan Kenobi show for Disney Plus, and
I'm in.
he's playing Obi-Wan
it's
Kenobi.
just-
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Jar Jar?
And Jar's in there.
Hugh McGregor?
I'm just still confused because when I was growing up, I had been told and accepted that was a racist character.
It is.
So
I've
how are
never-
we getting
I've never seen
another iteration of him on TV, especially in today's age? You would think Disney of all people would try to further themselves from that kind of.
I just think like there was a lot of racist characters in the prequels. There was like there was Watto, who was clearly like a Jewish stereotype because he had the huge nose and he was really cheap about money, and he talked kind of like a swarthy Israeli guy.
Mm-hmm. Is that the guy who was keeping them hostage or whatever?
He owned
them. Sorry.
Shimmy Skywalker and Anakin.
Okay.
They were slaves. Those things are. I think there's a difference between something that is called out universally, like the crows in Dumbo are just universally like that was racist. The Jar Jar stuff and like the racist stereotypes in the prequels, like Watto and Jar Jar and the Viceroy, who were like clearly like Asian stereotypes. Those are like a little under the surface of like. They're sort of regarded as racist by like more of the fringe. Like you'd see like The Root posting about how they're racist stereotypes, but you wouldn't see Slate or HuffPo posting about how they're racist stereotypes. They're kind of like slightly less mainstream call outs. So I think they can continue to like slip under the radar until it's nationally or not nationally, but it's universally adopted that like Jar Jar Binks is obviously a like caricature of like antebellum era like house slave.
Whatever, I don't care.
I mean, it's pretty egregious, but I guess it's just not so egregious that it's undeniable. It's kind of debatable whether it's that, but it's pretty clearly that. So for a number of years, there was a biopic being developed for the WWF/WWE wrestler Chris Benoit.
Stay away from that.
It was called Crossface, and the plan it's been canceled because the family did not approve of the script. So the planned biopic about notorious pro wrestler and double murderer Chris Benoit has been shelved, according to Benoit's son David, who has pro wrestling ambitions of his own. The movie was scrapped after the Benoit family saw the screenplay. And if you don't know, Chris Benoit was a really popular wrestler, and he ended up killing his wife and son and then killing himself. And, in the years since, we've sort of discovered and realized that he was dealing with a lot of mental issues caused by CTE, which at the time...
They called it roid rage at the time.
Yeah, we didn't know what it was.
Right.
And now we know that, like, football players, wrestlers, people who deal with a lot of like direct contact in their day-to-day job, if not handled properly, can suffer a lot of head trauma that leads to extreme mental health problems. And he ended up murdering and his family and committing suicide. And they were going to do this.
You put a Bible next to them after you killed them.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
They were going to do a biopic about him, and the family didn't approve of it because the whole movie leads up to the final moment of the movie is basically him killing his wife and son, and they were just like, no, we're not going to do this and like have this dramatized in a movie.
No, that's
Tell
not
the
cool.
truth.
But I mean, it would be kind of fucked up and exploitative, and I think we should be talking about the issues surrounding what happened and why he did what he did. Really focus on this as a case study of why it's so important to regulate these things more and deal with them more in the medical industry. But should we be playing this guy up as like this hero because he was a great wrestler? I don't think we should. I don't think that's the case.
Is there any way to be rehabilitated from that type of head trauma, or is the
I'm
damage
not-
just done?
I'm not Will Smith, but
Wait, you're not Will Smith?
so I'm not. I don't know exactly, but I think from my very shallow understanding, not really.
Yeah,
it's
there's
more
not.
about prevention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you have these issues, like you're just kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
I do
Dang.
also want to say, like, since we're on kind of WWE and sad things that are happening, Soul Man, Rocky Johnson passed away.
Yeah.
Rock's dad.
Yeah.
I saw that and I didn't add it to this. I didn't make the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Atlas were the two first black tag team champions.
Yeah, and
history makers.
Rocky Johnson was The Rock's dad,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he just passed away. Was it yesterday?
yeah, yesterday.
Like late yesterday.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It's like you said, he was kind of a boundary breaker in professional wrestling.
Is there a threshold for? Does it just depend on the person? How much head trauma is like the limit to when you start to experience those types of issues, or does it start from the very the first concussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sliding scale that depends on your genetics, how much trauma you've experienced, circumstantial environmental conditions, like what's going on in your life. Like somebody could have mental health issues that are just never really fully triggered in their lives, and somebody could go through a tragedy that just happens to trigger the same kind of issues that the other person just had the same issues and it just never was triggered in that way. Most of these wrestlers, they all kind of have this because they just had no idea. They're running around slamming their heads into walls and jumping off of shit and landing on their heads, and they just had they're like, I'm fine. I didn't die, so I'm fine. And they just had no idea that these things were just slowly destroying their brains.
Yeah, I think it's repetitive movement,
Mhm.
the repetitive constantly banging, which happens in football and happens in wrestling. And then also from back in the day, it's like they'd be like, well, just shake it off. Here's 2 Advil, go out there and do it. Where now they're like, okay, there's a protocol. If you're like, if you have a concussion, they go through a whole thing. They'll even in basketball, they'll do that. They're like, okay, we got to yank you. We got to clear you before you can play again. Or before they're like, are you dizzy? Okay, if you're not that dizzy, just go out and play again and you'll be fine.
So how can they do preventative work if people are going to continue playing football and continue? It's not like they're going to stop playing football or wrestling or whatever it is they love to do.
It's new technology in their gear.
Yeah, the helmets and
Okay.
Helmets and the padding, because before the padding used to be like just big rectangular blocks on your body, so they don't like form to your body. So when you hit, the block is like hitting you as it hits the ground. Compared to now, it's like shaped for your body. So when you hit the ground, it's actually protecting your shoulder, protecting your neck, protecting your head, things like that. So it may be smaller, but it's more effective.
That's really interesting though, of like, how do you solve that for wrestling?
Yeah.
That's
they
what's
did-
weird.
they did
pro
do
wrestling
some
like this
things.
entire
Yeah,
thing.
with like
Yeah.
this word, the whole show of it is like, oh my god, this guy's getting wrecked.
Well, they did a couple of changes where like now you can't hit people in the head with chairs anymore. There's no shots like that. There are certain moves that are banned.
Oh, okay.
You can't do them. So I mean, yes, it's going to happen, but they're working on things that are allowed and not allowed.
Yeah, but ultimately, no matter what technology, I mean, maybe they invent a technology someday that completely solves it, and we just have no conception of it right now. But as it stands, you can improve things with these technological advancements. You can improve the gear. You can do these things. But at the end of the day, no matter what, there's nothing that can really be done about it. These sports are just inherently problematic, and the only real thing that you could do to prevent it is just disassemble the concept of professional football and professional wrestling and just stop doing it.
That's never going to happen.
Virtual reality might get complex enough that we're able to like have live football games inside of a projected.
Let's just go to the next. We can go to the next.
Last story before we go to the break. It's just
That's possible.
it's possible, but like
That would fix the problem, right? If we can make virtual reality so realistic that people didn't crave.
it would fix the problem in terms of the health, but it's the same thing with like circuses and how there's these circuses now that are doing like hologram animals, where it's like, yes, now you've solved the animal cruelty problem, but who wants to go to a place and see hologram animals?
But again,
Just stop going to circuses.
I agree. Stop going to circuses.
No, but like I'm saying, like people are making these circuses that are like hologram animals. It's like,
But I mean, if
They
it's
just
if
need-
it's
they just
if
need a
it's
different act.
good enough, and if it's
'Cause I like the circus.
if we
They
can
just
get the
need a different
technology
act.
there.
Just no more animal act.
yeah, or get rid of animals and just do like clowns
Yeah.
and motorcycle stunts and things like that. Last story before we go to the break. Will Smith recently said that he was very insecure about Tupac and Jada Pinkett Smith's relationship. Rapper Tupac Shakur and actor Jada Pinkett Smith met in high school and became very close friends throughout the years until Shakur's tragic passing in 1996. Pinkett Smith has opened up several times about their friendship, but now in a recent interview with The Breakfast Club, Will Smith admitted feeling insecure about Tupac. Will was asked if he was ever jealous of the love Jada had for Tupac, to which Will responded, "Oh, fuck yeah. I could never open up to interact with Pac, because we had a little bit of a thing. They grew up together, they loved each other, but they never had a sexual relationship. But they had come into that age where now that was a possibility. And then Jada was with me. So Pac had a little thing on it, but she just loved him like he was the image of perfection. But she was with the Fresh Prince." Will later revealed that one of the...
Ew.
Yeah.
Why did he refer
Why did he
to
refer to
himself?
himself as the Fresh Prince?
Because he was the
At
Fresh
the- at-
Prince.
at the
He was the
time,
fresh. He was a rapper.
No,
at
we
the
know-
time.
He's trying
Yeah,
to say, like,
we
at
know
the
that, but-
time, he was Tupac.
Why can't he
and
say he
I
was
get
the
what
Fresh
he's
Prince.
doing,
It's
but
creepy.
it's still
Yeah.
it's still referring to oneself. in
You're
the
still
third
referring to
person.
yourself in the third person.
Yeah.
I think it was, but like Kobe just said, he was just basically saying like he was Tupac and I was the Fresh Prince. It's just like
That's not what.
oil
That's
and,
not
oil
what,
and
that's-
water.
Read the sentence again.
No,
Okay, yeah.
I watched the interview, and he meant to say it like she's with Tupac, this guy that like the entire world loves, and he was the Fresh Prince. Like he was like the image of what's next to blow up, and his music was getting Grammy nominated and all that stuff. So he tried to make that comparison of saying we're two great ones, but I'm not. For some reason, I feel like I'm not as great as Tupac.
Well, and this clarifies it. So the next thing he said, so he later revealed one of the biggest regrets he had was letting his ego get in the way of talking to Tupac. We were in the room together a couple times. I couldn't speak to him. He wasn't going to speak to me if I wasn't going to speak to him. Jaden would say all the time, "I'm telling you, y'all are so similar. You will love him." And that was a huge regret of mine. I couldn't handle it. I was the soft rapper from Philly, and he was Pac. You know what I mean? I was deeply, deeply insecure, and I wasn't man enough to handle that relationship. So he's basically saying like he was Tupac and I was the Fresh Prince, and it
Okay.
could just never happen. It could never work.
What if it did work and they could have had like a collabo?
Yeah.
There could have been
That
a
wouldn't
Tupac and that wouldn't work.
That
Yeah,
would've
the,
been
the
the
energy
worst-
of
the
like
worst song.
the energy of like a Philadelphia rapper and a West Coast rapper. I feel
Well,
like
he's
it's
from
just-
Philly.
at the time.
Tupac
no.
is not from the West
but
Coast.
he was part of
No,
that.
he's from
that-
Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore. You're right.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
he was part of the West Coast sound, like the
Yeah.
the so-called gangster rap or
But,
reality rap sound.
Yeah, it might have been bad.
From that interview, I noticed that Will Smith is insecure just kind of in general, because he was talking about how he was obsessed with The Rock for a while, because as Will Smith's brand started
Interesting.
dipping, he's starting to see The Rock do billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar movie, and now he's like obsessed with trying to be The Rock. So I think that like he really did go through. He has to go through that because he wanted to be the Michael Jackson of movies, the biggest ever. And I just think overall he just has to fight through a lot of insecurities.
Yeah, maybe he should stop chasing that and just make
He's
movies for the sake of making movies, and maybe he'll climb back on.
Well, this is it. This is the new beginning of Will Smith with Bad Boys for Life.
We tend to review things on this show, nostalgic things. They've usually been relegated to movies, and you say like, "Oh, that's just what we do." But we're a nostalgia podcast. We're not a movie podcast. We're not anything. We're just nostalgia. So this episode, I found these at the store. The concept of them just threw me for a loop. So we're gonna try these Big Chewy Nerds.
Yeah, doesn't that defeat the purpose of what originally a nerd is?
We're gonna find out.
Ooh, doggy doggy doo.
Oh gosh,
Sorry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
I am too.
I'm gonna get myself a little bit of a handful here.
Please follow Andrew's method of pouring it into your hand rather than putting your grimy little paws in there.
Oh, of course.
Okay, good.
Of course.
I'm curious to who that directed.
Everyone in the room, including myself.
Okay.
I don't know if my hands are
You
clean.
gotta pour.
She knows she has a problem and she's reminding herself in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So I should just put my mouth on
Oh, wait.
the bag.
Suck them out of the
Don't
bag.
do that. So you're saying don't do that.
I would honestly prefer that to the fingers.
Somebody else have a
Yeah, I mean, technically,
unproportionate amount of
Yeah.
yellows.
It's
You just
cleaner.
suck
a lot of
it.
Yeah.
yellows.
Yeah, a lot of yellows.
Yellows?
It's still a gross idea, but your mouth is cleaner than your hands.
Are you doing one at a time, or are you doing just?
I mean,
cramp-
you don't eat one
This
nerd
looks
at a time.
Disgusting.
That's true.
So I
let's
say
all-
tally ho.
Let's all try this. And before we try it, a common thing that people talk about on podcasts is when you're eating food, don't eat into the mic.
Oh,
No, you
people
definitely
don't
eat
like that
into the
sound.
mic. That's ASMR.
100%.
Eating into the mic.
100% eating into the mic right now.
Okay.
I'm full maxed.
So how is this chewy? It says Big Chewy Nerds. That's the title.
Just
Yeah.
bite into it.
But they're crunchy.
Just bite
They're
into it.
clearly
Just
crunchy.
do it.
You're pre-reviewing.
one?
They're sour. They got a little sour kick to
I'm
them.
going
I like
all of them at once.
that. I'm sorry, just have to. Hang on.
Oh, ow.
God.
Todd hates
We're
you.
losing subscribers.
They're like sour jelly beans.
Yeah,
I mean, first and foremost,
they're good.
ignore the texture for now. Ignore the size.
Mm-hmm.
Do these taste like nerds? Do they have the flavor of nerds?
Where'd you get these?
7-Eleven.
I'm gonna buy them.
They taste like those Nerds ropes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember nerds being this sour. Am I wrong? Or are they?
I would like to add
Yeah,
that
they
you
do.
don't
They
usually eat more than one flavor of nerd at a time. So you are getting an overload of like strawberry, lemon.
Didn't
Yeah,
you
'cause
just
you
say
get
eat them
nerds.
all at the same time?
But you get when you
What
buy
I'm
a
saying
pack
is,
of nerds, it's all one flavor.
It's all one flavor.
Oh yeah,
This
that's
is multiple flavors, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be hard to tell if it's like spot on, but it does exactly taste like the ropes.
I like them a lot.
Right. Of course.
They're really good.
I'm pretty happy with them.
I said this before, and I'll curse you all with this thought. You'll never think of Nerds Rope the same after you've played with a little kid with a runny nose in a sandbox.
What?
When you are at the park with your son and he has a runny nose and you get in the sandbox, you're never gonna think about a Nerds Rope the same again.
Back to the nerds. Are these really giant?
Compared to a nerd,
Yeah.
Comparatively,
They don't
A
say
nerd is
giant.
like
they
little
say
thing.
big.
Okay. Okay.
So I
stand
think that's
corrected.
fair.
I stand corrected.
I'm a really big fan of them. I like them.
yeah, I think they capture more than a nerd. They capture the experience of a Nerd's Rope in a small, bite-sized thing because you have the crunch of the nerd and then you have the chew of the Nerd's Rope stuff.
I would prefer it if it weren't chewy. I would like it the same as the nerd, where there's that just wreck your teeth crunch.
you're an insane.
I mean,
person.
you don't have a sophisticated texture palette. That texture is what makes it. The crunch with the chew, that handoff.
Agree to disagree.
All I know is
I
probably
wanted to
gonna
go
be
old
some salty
school,
after this.
original, OG. Hurt my teeth.
I would be curious to see like a true large,
Large
nerd.
nerd.
Though.
Yeah, that would be.
I
fascinating.
Like
I
a car
broke a
sized nerd?
tooth
Mhm.
on a
Super
box of
sour.
nerds once.
Well, you don't.
But you were
we
chewing
don't
up-
chew the box.
You were chewing on the box though.
Yeah.
I got to call my dentist.
Yeah.
You don't like them, Julie?
I don't like candy,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but I think actually because I don't like candy, that's how I was able to compare it to Nerds Ropes because I haven't had candy in such a long time that it was just stored in a box.
You were
in
born
my
on
brain.
the opposite shift of the moon than Kelby and I.
You guys were both born in January/February, right? Is that correct?
I was born in February.
Yeah, and you're January, right?
He was born in February.
February.
Your
I knew it
birthday?
was one of
I
those.
smell birthday party.
I'm on a diet.
We can have fruit for your birthday.
That works.
We could have
or
fruit
some
flavored things.
steamed vegetables.
Maybe
These are really good
Yeah,
I
they're
really like them. I'm
fantastic.
gonna go
for a
to
number of
SyFy.
reasons. They're almost like they have like a little bit of the appeal of the nerd. They have the nerd's rope quality. They almost kind of like have like a little bit of a Skittle type quality to
They
them.
do,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Skittles are better.
No,
Yeah.
no, Skittles are trash. compared to
Skittles
these.
are no, I can't have any more.
Yeah,
No.
these are way better than Skittles. I
wait.
didn't even really
I'm
want to
not
eat
leaving
these.
this break room until I finish this bag of Skittles.
There's just
it
about
me?
1 or 2 left.
Yep.
From when?
That's a tweet
Oh.
that you posted years ago
Oh, I mean,
That's a
that's
little
all
creepy.
during your first week of working at Macy's.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, that's definitely all about the not wanting to go to work, not about the I love Skittles so much.
Do you like it when someone quotes your tweets from years ago back to you?
I love it.
Good.
Love it so much.
I think that's actually kind of charming because to me, when you tweet something, I don't think anybody reads them.
I read Tyler's tweets.
Oh, Tyler's tweets.
Who do you follow on Twitter?
I don't use
Just
Twitter.
me.
Oh,
No, dude.
Just Tyler.
I
Yeah,
follow Mark Maron and only Mark Maron.
that's the only person.
Unpopular opinion. I could give 2 less shits.
That's fine. I have a very specific reason for why I like Mark Maron.
Why?
Yeah, it's kind of requires long explanation.
Never
But
mind.
it
I retract.
centered around one reason. Yeah.
You're hinting at there's a possibility that you could tell us what it is.
He's a daddy.
Gotcha.
No,
What is it?
Now I have to see what he looks like.
he's,
don't know who
he's
Mark
kind.
Maron
He's a little bit of a daddy, but
Is
that's,
that what it is? Is it
No,
a
no, no.
sexual thing? Like
No, it's not.
Then what is
It's
it?
because I honestly don't think he's that funny, but he's refreshingly himself. It's like he can't help.
You don't know
but
Mark Maron.
Stop mansplaining things to her.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I have never seen this face in my life.
You've never
Weird.
seen Mark Maron before?
He's
ever?
like one of the most popular
He's
Yeah.
like
podcasters
basically the
/ comedians that exist
Godfather
right
of why podcasts are
Is
so
he
huge.
Hispanic?
now.
No.
No, he's Jewish.
Oh,
He's from my
He's
stomping
not
grounds, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
wow. Is he an actor too? Or?
Hey,
kind of.
Well,
He's in Glow.
He was a stand-up
he's
comic.
great in Glow.
He basically plays
middled-
himself
yeah,
in Glow.
He middled as kind of like a lesser-known stand-up comic that never quite broke through for years. He did like random TV shit.
Mhm.
Then he started his podcast, got super popular from that. It's the #1 podcast
Still
ever.
Yeah, Obama went on the show.
And then he
Oh, yeah.
parlayed that into an acting career. So he had his show, he had a show Marin that was on IFC.
Good show.
He's on Glow. You've seen him.
Great
you watch
show.
Glow.
I
I
hate
don't
it,
watch
man.
Glow.
Oh, you don't watch Glow?
I watched-
Oh, it's Lewis. Yeah.
I watched 3 episodes of Marin and I hated it.
Maron was great.
I like that he doesn't raise his voice either. Not that much affects him. And I really like that when people are like, man, you created this podcast that really started this podcast renaissance. He's just kind of like, well, I really didn't have any work and somebody asked me to do this and then this happened. And he doesn't say it like, yeah. He doesn't try to play it up. He's just like, yeah, I had nothing going on. So this happened by chance.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Well, for somebody like him, I mean, I don't know if this detracts from what you're saying, but also a secondary thing is like, no matter how successful he gets at being a podcaster, at the end of the day, it's not quite what he wanted to be successful at. It's
No.
like, it's imagine if you wanted to one day create a TV show and become really successful for being like this great creator of a TV show, and then you get famous for like eating bread on Instagram or whatever,
Yeah.
and you get really famous for it. But you're always going to be like, but this is not what I wanted
But
to be recognized
it seems
for.
like he's not that bothered by it. He still gets to do what he wants to do,
Yeah.
which is, and he's honest about all of his mistakes and all of his flaws. I just like honesty, I guess.
Was he bigger than Joe Rogan?
No, he's not that big. Oh, you mean in terms of fame? I thought you meant-
Now we know that the daddy part is
Yeah.
a factor.
Good.
Gosh.
Yeah.
You thought it was he swole?
He's
No,
dad.
no,
He's
no,
got dad
just
bod.
like his, like who he is.
100%. He's the #1
bigger.
podcast
Yeah.
ever,
But
not
I-
just in comedy category.
I think in the sphere of stand-up comedy, he's not as big as Joe Rogan. But
No.
in podcasts, yeah, he's the biggest.
Okay.
And I think everybody's had a podcast will reference his podcast if they're kind of around him or if it comes up. It just like
As
it
we're
must-
doing right now.
Yes, it
Yeah.
must be referenced at some point.
Really?
So
I don't know who that is.
It's called WTF.
WTF
with Mark Maron.
Okay.
final scores on the giant nerds.
Or like 1 out of 10?
I should have said, speaking of giant nerds, fuck.
God
Fuck.
damn
Just
it.
do it and Todd will edit it.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be honest.
Play us in again, Julia. Say it all. Same
After,
exact
after
way.
everything
What am I
that
saying?
Julia
Say it
just
all
said,
of what you just
I
said
couldn't
exactly the
allow
same.
that. I don't
Oh.
want to disappoint her.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah.
North Hollywood.
Oh, 1 out of 10. I'm gonna give it 6.9.
Nice.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8
8.
because I ate them.
7.
After all that? After I don't like candy? Give it a higher score than Kirk?
It reminded me of Nerds Rope, so it's actually strangely enough purely for the nostalgia of the
See?
Nerds Rope.
See?
It's really good.
Because I remember, because it just brought me back to this compartmentalized memory of getting Nerds Ropes and going to see a movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what it was, an experience.
What a terrible
And that's
thing to go
perfect.
take to a movie, though.
What?
Nerds
Tyler.
Rope comes in like in a box or in a like little container with plastic around it. You can't hold the Nerd Rope the entire time because your hands get sticky. So you got to crunch the wrapper every time you want to bring
it's
it
sort
out.
of like a banana.
What are
just
you
kind of
talking about?
You're crazy. You guys are
You gotta
crazy.
stop
unwrap
Nerds
How did you
it as you're going.
First of all, you can hold
If you
it. Doesn't make
unwrap
your
it as you're
hands
going,
sticky.
you make noise during
It
the
doesn't
whole
make
movie.
your hands sticky. What are you licking your hands before
Or
you hold
you
it?
What
hold
are
it
you
with
not
a-
licking your hands before you hold it?
I think you just have sweaty palms, but you can have a napkin in
Well,
between. You can. There's
it's
so
all
many
fun and games till you get
solutions.
called out for your sweaty palms.
I'm not saying it's wrong.
All right,
It's
well,
okay, he's gonna-
that's our
All right.
score of the giant chewy nerds. A couple last stories to wrap up the show before we end it. 1 million moms recently criticized a Burger King commercial for using the D word, and I brought this up because it's such a funny story, but also 1 million moms is nostalgic because they were their heyday was back in the 80s and 90s.
For what?
Just being like they're like a conservative group, so they they talk anytime anything un-Christian happens in pop culture,
Video
they
games,
freak out.
music.
I thought it was like 1 million individual people.
No, as a matter of fact, they used to be much bigger, but now they've sort of like there's not even 1,000 people in the organization. There's less than 1,000 people, so it's not 1 million moms, and many of them are not women, but they're a conservative organization classified as an anti-LGBTQ hate group by the government. There was a commercial for Burger King recently where they had a bunch of live reactions to like eating the Impossible Whopper, and one of the guys just goes, "Damn, that's good," and they're like, Burger King is destroying the sanctity of the innocence of our society for saying damn.
Yeah,
The D word.
The D word.
exactly.
Yeah, I guess Burger King's canceled.
Burger King's canceled.
After a long
You heard it
day of
first.
hating the LGBTQ, I have forgotten to make my dinner, and now I can't take my kids to Burger King.
You can always go to Arby's.
Yeah.
They got the
You wouldn't catch Arby's saying the D word in their commercials.
Yeah, they
They
talk
just
about
say
Unless it
can't
was
afford-
delicious.
Oh.
That D word.
They can't afford commercials.
they coat it with meat
And
that's
horse
all you gotta
stick
say.
because they
Yeah.
serve that.
Mark Paul Gosselaar. How do you even say
Mike
Mark
Paul
Paul
Gosselaar.
Gosselaar, there we go. Mark Paul Gosselaar will return as Zack Morris in Saved by the Bell revival after all.
Yeah.
Literally, episode 1 of Nostalgicast, we talked about how they were doing a reboot of Saved by the Bell, but for whatever reason, Zack Morris wasn't going to be in it. And in fact, he was sort of like an off-screen villain, where he's like the mayor of the city,
Yeah.
and he puts some kind of regulation that ends up like defunding all these low-income schools. So all the low-income kids have to come and go to this like really nice school, Bayside. He was just going to be kind of an off-camera character that never, like, it just gets referenced, but is actually on the show. But now, possibly they were planning on doing this the entire time, or possibly in response to the backlash. He's now not only signed on to do the show, but he's also an executive producer on the show now.
Of course he is.
He
Oh,
should-
that's why he wasn't going to be. They weren't going to let him be one.
Superman and Lois and Walker Texas Ranger reboots have been ordered to series at the CW. They've done some pilots for a new Superman and Lois show starring Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch.
Oh, thumbs down
Um,
from Todd.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look great as a Superman.
You got your
Um,
I gotta
Superman
look him up now.
And
in the crisis. Get out of here.
and Walker Texas Ranger. What are you? Are you a? You're a.
Smallville fan.
Oh, Smallville. I thought you were a Brandon Roth.
I like
Ralph. Brandon Ralph.
Brandon Routh was great as
He was good.
Superman.
Yeah,
This guy,
Superman.
Tyler Hoechlin, he looks like Superman.
he does. He's got like the face.
Yeah, he looks good.
He was in. If anybody watched Teen
George
Wolf,
Reeves
show.
is the only true Superman.
George Reeves.
Yeah, you just don't even
Sorry.
leave me alone.
What about?
Leave me alone.
I can't remember the other Superman's name. Who wanted to?
Wow.
No, old
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeves.
Christopher Reeve.
Sorry.
So yeah, they did pilots for these two shows, and the Walker Texas Ranger show is starring starring Jared Padalecki from Supernatural and Gilmore Girls.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I had some, both audiences. And now they've been ordered a series. So those series are coming to the CW. The Plymouth from Christine is up for auction. So if you want to own the car from the iconic 1983 horror movie Christine, you can go bid for it.
You know what's really weird? The car that Tupac got shot in is up for auction too.
Whoa.
It's fucked up.
That's
Yeah,
fucked up.
that's
It's crazy.
Bob Givens, the designer of Bugs Bunny, has passed away at the age of 99.
Wow.
He was
That's
part
a
of
good
the
long life.
he was part of the original key team of animators who created Bugs Bunny
Wait,
and Elmer Fudd.
so he passed away just in 2020.
Mhm.
Wow, that's like the bookends of that lifespan are
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty much everybody else involved with those cartoons is dead. Like
Yeah.
he was like literally the
End of an
only
era.
surviving person.
Wow, 99. It's a good life.
All right.
I mean,
Wow.
Mel Blanc is long dead. Shozo Uehara, writer of Ultraman and Japanese Spider-Man, has also passed away at 82. He was the main writer for Ultraman, which is a sort of like the proto tokusatsu show, long-running Japanese live-action fighter show. He was the main writer, the original writer on Ultra Q and Sentai Goranger, known as Five Rangers in the West. Passed away, a legendary Japanese tokusatsu writer. Final story. So recently, Burt Ward, who played Robin in the original 1960s Batman show alongside Adam West's Batman, was recently given a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. And for all of you out there who think that the Hollywood Walk of Fame stars mean anything, I'm here to tell you right now, all you have to do to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is get a petition signed by a certain number of people and then pay for it.
Yeah, you got to pay for it yourself.
That's all you have
That's
to
it.
do.
Yeah.
You just have to get like whatever it is, 2,000 people to sign
Yeah.
a petition or whatever the number is. That's all you have to
Yeah.
do.
But it is expensive.
And it's expensive.
Oh my god.
And they have to approve
So
it.
it basically means nothing.
That's a shameful
All right, but-
process.
but
you
can-
have to get it. You have to want it yourself. Nobody's awarding you a
No
star.
one-
Well,
Yeah.
you could
no
do
one
it. You
gives
could
it
do
to
it
you.
for someone though. Like you could start
Yeah.
a petition to
Oh,
get
okay.
someone on there.
You can do it for someone, but yeah.
But do they still have to pay for it even if you do it for
well,
someone?
if you start a petition like that, usually you have backers that
Okay.
that are helping you.
Okay.
But in addition to being given the Hollywood Walk of Fame star, in the process of being interviewed and talking about this, Burt Ward revealed some crazy shit. So according to him, during the run of the Batman series, which ran on ABC, the executives at ABC were concerned because in a more conservative time, they thought that his package was too large and protruding for his spandex tights. So, they're running around in these spandex tights in front of families across the country. And these executives were very concerned that they didn't want Burt Ward's waving around his big package in front of all these families. So their answer to that was that they told him that if he wanted to stay on the show, he had to take penis shrinking pills.
Oh, no.
How old is this guy?
What a line!
At this point, he's in his 80s,
Mm,
something like that.
He
Yeah.
is
I don't
74.
know.
Oh yeah, it just sounds too much like a chat up, like a pickup line. Like he goes to bars and
Yeah.
goes, "I'm in that
It's
show,"
like
and they make me take these pills because it's too big.
it was a burden. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's just
Well,
do those exist? Do penis
that's
shrinking-
not a thing.
No. They probably
I mean,
they
they
could have
do.
just made him wear like thicker underwear, so it's like more boxier.
Well, so what happened was they told him he had to take these pills, and he took them one time, and then after he took them the first time, he just went, "Fuck this! I'm not doing this," because he was scared that it was gonna like make him sterile, and he wasn't gonna be able to have kids. So he went back to them and he said, "I can't do this," and so they ended up just hiding it with his cape.
But
Shout
the
out to
cape's
him.
on the back.
I don't know what that means, but that's what he said.
That's why I'm like,
it's like
sir,
whenever
I cry foul.
Shout out to Burt, man.
He said, "I took them for 3 days, and then I decided that they can probably keep me from having children. I stopped doing that, and I just used my cape to cover it." He also
Humble
took a
brag.
shot at
It's a
Adam.
huge humble brag.
He took a shot at Adam West also by saying, so they thought that Robin had a very large bulge for television, but with Adam, he didn't have that problem.
Oh.
They had to actually put towels in his undershorts to make it bigger.
We're gonna take our star back. Just take the
I-
star back.
This whole last story makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
I
it's
can't
just-
tell whether he's lost it or he's been sitting on that for such a long time and he wants to like regain something about himself.
He's
Yeah.
trying,
I can't
he's
tell
trying
what's
to
going
get it lit on.
none of that
social
checks out.
It's not
just
so-
sad.
So it to me it kind of checks out where like I would not be surprised if this was true because it was the 60s and just shit like this.
Yeah.
Number one, it was a way more conservative time. Number two, people were way more exploitative and they could just make you do things and you just kind of had to do it or else they would fire
Sure.
you and you had no protections. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, but I would also 100% not be surprised if in a week he just was like, "Oh, I was joking."
Yeah.
I would believe either way.
I have a big problem with the dick shrinking pills.
I
That's
mean-
not.
But
a
it was
thing.
the 60s, so it might not have. They might not have been real. It might have just
Yeah.
been like some quack medication that people thought worked.
The article does say prescribed. They were prescribed.
Yeah, but that it
doesn't
was the
mean
60s.
anything.
People,
It's a package.
doctors
It is a
didn't
package.
know shit. Like
That's true.
I mean, is he really?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
That's not. I mean,
Bring it closer.
it's obvious. You can. There's an outline there. I'll be honest. I don't hate it.
You
so
hear-
next time you're watching the
Here for it?
1960s Batman show, just look for the
Yeah.
package. Thank you for listening. If you like the show and you haven't already done it, then please subscribe. If you have a friend that you think would enjoy our show, then share it with them and ask them to subscribe. If you want to learn more about us or see the type of nostalgic content we do on a daily basis, you can go to our Facebook page, which is Nostalgia, the official Nostalgia Facebook page. You can also join our Facebook group, which is also the official Nostalgia Facebook group. You can search those things on Facebook. Like the page and join the group to continue seeing cool nostalgic content we put out and also get updates and news about our podcast. And other podcasts that we're doing. If you have a question, thought, or anything that you might want read on the show, you can email us at nostalgicastpod@gmail.com. And if you want to support us in a more monetary way, you can go to our Facebook page. At the top, there's a button that says Become a Supporter. If you click that button, for $4.99 a month, you can pay to become a fan of of our page and our show. And in addition to supporting us, you can also get access to exclusive content that nobody else can see, such as bonus episodes of the podcast, videos, or anything else that we have not yet decided upon. Thanks for listening.